Hello everybody, Dan here, and instead of just going from point A to point B today, how about you stop along the way and smell the roses? When good video game bosses are mentioned in conversation, 95% of the time, it's related to a final boss. Today, however, we will be covering the 5% that don't get to be in the limelight. It doesn't matter if they were tough, funny, or absolutely essential to the plot, as long as they were memorable. Obviously, it cannot be a final boss, but I also won't be accepting bosses that were originally believed to be the final boss of the game. And remember, these are my personal favorites. And I haven't played a barrage of various games, so some of your favorites may not be on the list. With that out of the way, let's get started. There were a lot of great bosses to choose from in Undertale, the hit indie game that came out of nowhere at the end of 2015. I heard it was kickstarted, but I honestly wouldn't know, and my trust with Kickstarter games has greatly deteriorated due to an unmentioned game. Getting back on track, while there are a lot of great bosses from Undertale, none are as persistent, as deadly, or as fabulous as Mettaton. Mettaton is a robot created by the royal scientist Dr. Alphys with a sort of split personality, half of which being an over-the-top ecstatic TV host, and the other half being a bloodthirsty, ravenous human killer. This mechanical menace terrorizes you throughout the entire second half of the game, torturing you with deadly quiz shows, pernicious puzzles, cruel cooking shows, noxious news reports, and malignant musicals. This has been Alliterations with Dan! Join us next week as we discuss the difference between there, and there. It doesn't matter what form he took, every encounter with Mettaton was always memorable with his wit and charm, which puts him at a solid number 10 on the list. I also relate to him because I think we have something very much in common. Loyal viewers. So you want to know how to surprise your players with an unsuspected twist with one of your bosses? Well, look no further than Tinker Knight from Shovel Knight, another great indie game. When you first encounter Wallace Shawn, inconceivable! He seems to be quite nervous and surprised by your presence. He attacks by Step 1, running back and forth on the ground. Step 2, throwing wrenches up in the air where I can't get hit. Step 3, falling. This should be a more than powerful foe, whom will test my every limit and force me to use all of my untapped and potential. He's dead. He died in one hit. Okay, on to the next boss. Whoa! Where did this come from? This boss just turned from embarrassingly easy to intensifyingly awesome. This totally hit me as a surprise when I first got to Tinker Knight. Despite the fact that Yacht Club Games trolled me with a fake boss fight, followed by the real one, with no heals in between, by the by. This makes Tinker Knight a staple of what all boss fights should be, a pleasant surprise. Out of all of Bowser's minions, none are more loyal, more intimidating, and more hilarious than General Guy from Paper Mario. Bowser trusts General Guy and his men with guarding Muscular, the 4th Star Spirit, and he will do whatever it takes to make sure Mario and co. do not get their hands on it. And he's willing to put all of his men at risk in order to do so. He's a brilliant general leader who comes up with genius plans during his battle, like telling his guys, you all should group together and attack. Don't spread out. There's no way Mario can attack you if you're all so closely stuck together. And let's send out those guys on stilts. The only way he'll be able to defeat them is if he has a hammer. And it's not like we saw him use a hammer earlier in the battle or the level or anything. And who can forget? Okay guys, so you know how he totally defeated our stilt guys with his hammer we didn't know that he had? Let's try almost the same exact plan, but instead, let's stack guys on top of one another. Unless he swings his hammer, or jumps really high, there is no way he'll get past these poorly balanced and uncoordinated guys. I have a hunch he'll be getting a promotion when he gets back to Bowser. After you defeat his men, he takes you on his tank. I know that may sound cool, but the tank is a toy. Did I say intimidating earlier? None are more loyal, more intimidating, and more hilarious. I meant the completely exact opposite. His fun battle partnered with bombs, electric attacks, and his never give up attitude with his wartime lingo make him the best Mario boss in the entire series. If you played the original Bayonetta to the end, you'd know that the final boss is incomprehensibly massive and powerful. Now take that sheer mass, size, and power, transfer it to a Devil Manta Ray, and make it a boss in the sequel not even halfway through the game, and you have Insidious. On the way to the Bayonetta universe's version of Hell using the Arc, Bayonetta must confront Insidious and jab out its eyes from its fins. The only problem is that not only is it defending its eye holes, but it's also using its size as an advantage as it tries to destroy the Arc and stop Bayonetta's progress. And for some reason it can fire missiles. Somehow. I think it's best we don't ask. Now you may think it's a cliche, the eyes being a weak spot on the enemy, but believe you me, it's much more difficult than that. And even after you defeat it, it goes all Kronos on you and eats Bayonetta. The following chapter takes place in the innards of Insidious, and it is epic! Number 6 goes to all of the Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus, except Basran, Zenobia, and Dirge. They are annoying, and I don't like them. Next! When it comes to traditional fighting games, boss fights have been less than subpar. Don't get me wrong, final bosses are still epic in so many fighting games. It's just the other bosses that are a little lackluster. I always found that aspect of fighting games so disappointing. Street Fighter? Meh. Smash Brothers? Meh. Killer Instinct? Meh. I just want a good boss fight. Is that too much to ask for? Luckily, Mortal Kombat came along and introduced us to Goro. While Shang Tsung was the main antagonist of the original game, Goro became way more memorable than Asian Mr. Magoo. Living in Shao Kahn's underground lair, he's the final test before Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn. He's a tank who can deal and take tons of damage. He attacks using a variety of methods, even by flexing. His fatalities take death to the extreme, including explosions and limbs flying off everywhere. It's thanks to this big guy that I haven't lost faith in all fighting games when it comes to boss fights.
Goro wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
Now this one was really hard. There are so many great bosses in the Legend of Zelda franchise that it was so hard just to choose one. I went through every game to narrow down my favorite boss, and through personal preference, I finally chose Dark Link. No, not that Dark Link. Instead, I meant the Dark Link from Ocarina of Time. What's ironic is that this technically isn't even a boss, but a mini-boss, and in my opinion, it still trumps over every other Zelda boss. Dark Link is located in what seems to be a water oasis in the Water Temple. Saying that Dark Link is the best part of the Water Temple may not sound like much of an accomplishment, but trust me on this one. What's special about Dark Link is that it not only mimics all of Link's movements, but it can react to Link's attacks by blocking and flipping. It seems like it's impossible to beat yourself. Surely, this boss must be defeated by the tip of my Master Sword, the most powerful weapon in the entire game, and it may take all of my skills and strength, but I will defeat this enemy, no matter how much willpower. Or you could just use the hammer. He's dead.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
You don't want to do this, Freeze.
The Batman Arkham series has had a plethora of great bosses, with the exception of roided out Joker. But in reality, there was no contest in choosing the best boss, which of course is Mr. Freeze from Arkham City. After helping him get his Freeze suit back, Mr. Freeze keeps up his end of the bargain and creates an antidote for Batman after he's poisoned by the Joker. However, Mr. Freeze backstabs him by locking one vial of the antidote in the safe and destroying the second. Oh no, who could have foreseen such a tragic event in which the bad guy betrays the good guy? This totally caught me off guard. However, the battle that ensues afterwards really caught me off guard. Unlike 90% of the bad guys you fight in the Arkham games, Mr. Freeze is able to learn from his mistakes. That means if you use something to fend him off in one part of the battle, good luck using that same tactic on him again, as he uses his brains and skills as a renowned scientist to make sure that he doesn't fall for that same trick again. This battle keeps you on your toes at all times, as Mr. Freeze proves to be the most formidable foe Batman's ever faced in the Arkham series. And just to make sure we're on the same page with this, I'm talking about this Mr. Freeze, not this one.
All right, everyone. Chill, chill, chill,
Now, if any of you have been keeping up with me on social media, then you know that I just recently got myself a PlayStation 1, as I feel like I had really missed out on the system since I was more of a Nintendo 64 kid. But popular gaming channels like Kadikarus really changed my outlook on the PS1, and I seriously suggest that anyone interested in this console check out his channel. But getting back on track, one of the first games I tried out was Metal Gear Solid, and I was hooked on that more than I was hooked on phonics, and I was hooked on phonics. I played through the entire game, and by far the best boss in that game had to be Psycho Mantis. Originally a member of the KGB, Mantis was recruited to join Foxhound for his psychokinetic powers. When Snake runs into him on Shadow Moses Island, he incapacitates Meryl, and she's unable to help you during the fight. Like Mr. Freeze, he's a very intelligent opponent. However, instead of learning from his mistakes, he just reads Snake's mind and avoids any mistakes before they can happen in real life. But what really sets Psycho Mantis apart from other boss fights in the MGS series is that he breaks the fourth wall by reading your memory card and vibrating your controller. Mantis is somehow able to avoid all of Snake's attacks. Clearly, this menace will test all my— You know what? Screw it. You already know how this goes. I talk about how it'll be a fight to test my wits, but in reality, all you have to do to defeat Mantis is change the controller to another socket, and then he can't read your mind. That's still a very ingenious way of defeating a boss, and I give props to Konami for coming up with this idea.
Now let's see how you like sitting through a whole presentation on global warming! You cannot escape the scientific certainty of global climate change. Yeah!
Break out the butter. I'm gonna make toast.
If you don't listen to me, then I'm going to be one angry daddy.
Some boss fights can be entertaining, some can be funny, and some can be challenging. Mix all those three things together with a beautiful soprano singing voice and some crude images, and you have the great Mighty Pooh. This giant pile of unthinkable matter serves as a major boss fight in Rareware's cult classic 3D platformer, Conker's Bad Fur Day. What's great about the great Mighty Pooh is that while attacking Conker, he's singing an opera in a disturbingly beautiful soprano voice.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
And how do you defeat this giant pile of poo? Well, using those context-sensitive pads we were introduced to at the beginning of the game,
Context-sensitive.
you throw toilet paper into his mouth while he's singing. In the end, he is his own downfall as he breaks the glass that allows you to flush him out once and for all.
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
What makes the great Mighty Pooh best above all is that it combines the challenge of the previous bosses with the humor of the other bosses. All of these bosses are really great, and they all bring something to the table that makes them more than deserving of being on this list. But a good boss fight is able to take the entertainment, challenge, and gameplay mechanics of a boss fight and combine them into a memorable adversary. And that's what's great about the great Mighty Pooh. The question is, do I actually want to kill the greatest boss for some measly payoff? Or do I want his legacy to live on? Did you like this video? Be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Do you agree with my list? Have an idea for a top 10? Or do you just want to talk about how stupid I am? Leave it in the comments below. And while there may not be a preview for the next top 10, I will leave you with a little something something after the video. It's going to be something special next time, and while I won't tell you exactly what it is, I will kind of give you a hint as to why it's kind of special. So stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching my top 10. Hope you had a great time. And until next time, stay lovely.
On the next top 10.